The summer update has been out for about 2 weeks. Bots are gone. Maps are booming. MFs are dooming, and everyone's become a suboptimal pyro main. I've put around 40 hours into the update myself, far from being an aficionado, but I think that's enough time to give a general overview. So we're gonna go through all the maps, talk about the cosmetics, any other miscellaneous changes, and then cap off with more info on the botting situation, or lack thereof. There's some good news, some bad news, but we'll get there when we get there. First, the maps. Opinions on these are more all over the place than any update in recent memory. I don't think I've ever seen the top 3 of one player be the bottom 3 of another this much before, and I'm sure that my list will be no exception. Anyways, tier list time. Odyssey, the first dedicated payload map to give the blue team a height advantage for most areas of the game. It plays pretty well. Red's just mostly setting up on whatever perches they have access to. Sometimes it's balanced, other times not so much. I found a lot of people initially complaining about the second point on offense, but as time's gone on, people have gotten better at working around it. Hell, I didn't even know there was a flank route around here for the first couple of days because no one on blue ever opted to use it. My biggest gripe with the map is the last point. It has a bad case of frontier syndrome where the red Engie can just put a sentry on the high ground, all incoming fire is easily reactable, and the flank route is so far out of the way that almost no one elects to use it. Even just one little crevice between the rocks would do wonders in dealing with the turtles. It's also the first payload map that ends with a capture point, which I think I would be agnostic towards gameplay-wise, but it forces the attacking team to spend more time on the worst part of the map. So I'd opt for tradition here. As time's gone on, I think the map as a whole has gotten better, but the last point has become a lot more obnoxious. Probably a low B tier. Kachoria. Yeah, this goes back to the one guy's top 3 is another person's bottom 3 because I am not a fan of this one. This fucking sniper sight line next to the helicopter is one of the most obnoxious in the game, and you can't even try to fight back against it because the sniper player can either hide behind the tires or move to the other side of the chopper. Beyond that, all the other parts of the map are just really cramped and not fun to fight on. The only part I actually like is the capture point itself. They give you a bit of height advantage as incentive to play the objective, and the hole in the roof is a lot more balanced than, say, the one on Harvest. I don't know, guys. I've tried to see what the rest of you do in this map, but in my experience, it doesn't play too great. C tier. Hadal. Apparently this is a hot take, but I like this one. It's like a hybrid between Junction and Steel, which you think would be like mixing potato chips and Raisin Bran, but I think it works well enough. The first point is honestly kinda shit. Red's height advantage is a little too good, and the only flank route is a one-way trip to Headshot Valley, but I find the trifecta of point B, point C, and the main point very fun to juggle. My only real gripe with Hadal is because the first point is such a bitch, you see a lot of teams just immediately rushing to the main point, and because it's a new map, almost everyone's getting lost and no one can counter it in time. I wouldn't put it in the same tier as the more dynamic attack-defend maps, but I haven't unchecked this one yet. It's like a high B tier. Applejack. This is one of, if not the best capture the flag map in the game if you're actually playing to capture the flag. No bullshit sniper sightlines, no unbearable sentry spots, fun to play on as basically every class. I like it a fair bit. Only issue is, well, it's capture the flag. It's hard to make people actually care about the objective. The game mode is basically a free-for-all with a couple of briefcases stamped at the poles. From a balancing point of view, I think it's really well done, but I don't see it getting much playtime after the update's wrapped up. B tier. Canaveral. The more I've played this map, the more I've grown to like it. The midpoint fights are a lot of fun. Not too open, not too closed, medkits are well placed, and you can use the water as an escape hatch if you're ever overwhelmed. Just a lot of welcome additions that you don't find in your average 5 CP map. Doubly so with the final points, which I think have a lot of smart design choices that a lot of people don't recognize. Attacking from the bottom entrance can be a bitch, but that's intentional. You have another 3 up top that you can use. You've got a wide-ass perch with a medium medkit to keep the pressure up, a broken window right above the point if you need a rush job done, and a massive room that the attacking team can see out of, but the defending team can't. So you're able to coordinate a giant wrecking ball and start going apeshit from the top without the other team preparing beforehand. It isn't a perfect map by any means. Having the spawn right next to the stairs makes the initial point after the second cap feel kind of unfair, and because it's a 5 CP map, matches do go on for a while. It'd probably be a good idea to shrink it down, ditch the filler points in between, and make it a 3 CP map, but nonetheless it's one of my favorite maps of the update. A tier. Overgrown. Not a fan of this one at all. It feels way too skewed towards the defending team. The first point has the attackers constantly on the low ground away from the point, unless they decide to flood the one above ground flank route, which can get easily locked down single-handedly by any competent sniper. Combine that with the sentry in this one room with a couple of players guarding the flank, and really, that's it. It's hard for the attacking team to get any ground whatsoever. The second half of the map is even worse. It's like a blind guy scattered 8 pieces of bacon on a plate and turned it into the blueprints for flank pathing. So many different routes, and almost all of them are below the point. Really, you just don't fight a lot on this map because everyone's scattered around like a bunch of lost ants. Combine that with it being so open to the point where half of the kill icons are rifles or sentry guns, it's just a miserable time all around. I like the train gimmick, but that's about it. Atom Smash. Definitely one of the best maps of the update. Player destruction tends to have a better track record than most game modes in that regard. It's kinda like a more condensed nucleus, and that's very much a good thing. No bullshit sniper sightlines or getting force-natured into an overly large death pit. My only gripe with the map is because of how tight the corridors are, the meta strat is to group a shitload of power classes together and start Katamariing through the entire map. But as far as dominant strategies go, there are much worse options you could get. And in casual, it doesn't even manifest that often. A tier for sure. Burgosian. Finally, after over a decade, we've got another medieval map in the official rotation. You're kinda grading this one on a curve because almost no one ever plays medieval mode in any dedicated fashion, but this is a very welcome addition to the game. Unlike De Groot Keep, which is one map centered around 3 points, Burgosian is a 3-stage map centered around 1 point each. So because the entire game is based around one tiny sliver of the map, you're getting the non-stop 10v10 fistfights with the most janky melee hit reg in the game. And I love it. Look, the map isn't technically impressive by any means, and it won't be a mainstay for 95% of players. But if you just want to fuck around for half an hour without getting too invested in the match, Burgosian's a good candidate for that. High B tier. Megaton. Yeah, that about sums it up. TF2 mapping rule number 1. Get a 10,000 hour sniper to playtest it before going live. Like, I don't mean to be condescending, but a kid with 15 hours on the game could figure out there's a design problem here. The sniper sightlines overlook the entire fucking map. The whole thing. When you make Harvest look tame by comparison, you done fucked up. It's a shame too, because the map looks really nice, I like the nuke at the end, and games can be really fun if there are no campers in play. But when's the last time you've ever been on a sniper advantageous map without at least one player on either team abusing the fuck out of it? Right now, things aren't too bad because everyone's on their tourism arc and gluing themselves to their mains. But wait a bit longer for the Uncle Topians to gain a foothold, and I guarantee the fun meter will plummet to hell. Megaton has some good elements to it, but this issue is so pronounced and so obvious that I can't put it anywhere higher than D tier. Embargo. This one has been quite the base breaker. I don't think I've ever seen the TF2 community more split on any map in the game than this one. I've heard people label Embargo as their favorite map of the update, or hell, even their new favorite map in the entire game. On the flip side, I've also heard the exact opposite, that Embargo is a disgrace to TF2's art style and gameplay experience and should have never seen the light of day. I'm very much in the category of I think it's just too much. It's like Valve looked at a trade server and said, fuck it, add a payload card. There's just too many little nooks and crannies everywhere on the map. It feels like you can't go more than 2 minutes without dying to some out-of-nowhere bullshit. I don't know why this pathway is open before the second point if you're not gonna put anything there. The casino room is so fucking big. I don't know how you're supposed to see half the enemies shooting at you, let alone fight them. A lot of the sightlines are fucking obnoxious, the map's so cluttered that mini-sentries get a stealth buff, the last point is like Borneo last, except 40% tighter with the flank path removed, and I can't stop myself from playing it. I refuse to uncheck this box. Embargo, to me, is a complete fucking mess of a map, but it's a mess I can't help but enjoy. Maybe it's the allure of having such an expansive map, maybe it's exploiting all the bullshit you become accustomed to over time, maybe it's getting covered in Smurf cum at the end. I don't know. But what I do know is, no matter how many times I get frustrated at this map's design, I can't help but keep playing it. I know a lot of people have gripes with how anathema Embargo is to TF2's traditional art direction, contention, and personally, it's not much of a factor to me. Not to say that people are wrong for caring about it, I just don't have a strong position one way or the other. Gameplay is always my main concern. It's still up in the air as to what'll wear off first, the novelty of such a unique map or how omnipresent the barrage of continual bullshit will be. Check back in a month from now and maybe I'll have an answer. But one thing's for sure, this map is nowhere near traditional and deserves a non-traditional ranking. What the fuck? That's my ranking done. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about it, so drop your own in the comments below. On to the cosmetics. They're alright. The pyro and medic sets are the best of the pack in my eyes, but the rest is just kind of more of the same. Basic scout shirt, basic heavy shirt, basic Engie shirt. Not bad, not amazing, just solid cosmetics across the board. There are, however, two cosmetics in particular that have provoked quite a bit of controversy. And let's start with the first one, the Bottler 2000. The first companion cosmetic in the game that'll follow you around while not being airborne. I've never been a big fan of pet cosmetics in general, but they've never been obtrusive to the point of obstructing gameplay. Unfortunately, this kind of doesn't apply to the Bottler. When there's any entity that moves around on the floor, hours of built-in muscle memory kicks in, and you're led to believe it has collision properties. But it doesn't. And really, you can't wave that away. Like the first time I ever saw one in game, I was playing Spy, and I literally missed a backstab on my target due to how distracting it was. If that can happen to me after 12,000 hours on the game, good chance newer players will have a similar issue. It's a shame too, because the Bottler itself is really well done. There was clearly a lot of love and creativity put into all the different class variants, but negatively affecting gameplay is a line I don't think is ever worth broaching, let alone crossing. Unfortunately, I do believe the Bottler does. Speaking of which, the Tuxedo Royale. Within about an hour of a new case dropping, I always head over to loadout.tf to see if any of my banana sets are due for an upgrade. I went over to Spy, switched over to Style 2, and tested some painted variants, only to be confronted with this. I am not kidding when I say that I thought the site broke. There's just no fucking way this is applicable in game. As it turns out, it is. I don't need to explain why this is a problem, right? This looks like a loadout you'd get after a client-side auto balance glitch, not a legit, pre-created loadout. Look, is it a game-defining problem? No. Do people over-exaggerate the issue sometimes? Sure. But the absurd paint region door is one I think we ought to be closing for the health of the game. There are some other contentious items like the Pathfinder modeling giving soldier balloon arms, and the MF Doom mask being what many believe is a unfitting reference, but personally, these ones don't bother me too much, if at all. Same goes for the unusual effects, really. I'd much prefer only getting like half a dozen each update to make each individual effect matter more, but I've just accepted that we're way past the point of Valve changing their philosophy on that one. Beyond that, some of them have issues. Who made this? Mr. Game & Watch? Oh, and taunts. They're pretty good. Feels like the Unleashed Rage ones could have been a bit more exaggerated for some classes, but that's my only real complaint. Unfortunate timing for this one though. Overall, it's a good selection of items, but I just know that if a second Death of the Art style video ever hits the tower, I expect this case to have exhibits A, B, and C. As for miscellaneous changes, Cashworks got some updates. That's cool. The invasion maps are now put in the official game mode pools. That's cool. The Gas and Neon Annihilator combo into each other now. That's cool. You can turn off getting shown porn against your will. The Furry Pound players might be on suicide watch after this, but good change, good change. Even better change, bots. They're almost entirely gone. In fact, as of this video going up, the bot crisis has been contained for over a month. You know how long it's been since TF2 has gone that long without non-stop botted lobbies? About 5 years. Best part is, if the bot hosters were ever secretly holding on to a workaround, it would have been uncaged by this point in the update. Some of them have tried, but they've all failed. And according to in-game notifications, it seems like reporting players is actually being listened to. For anyone unfamiliar, you can bring up the in-game report menu by hitting F7. No need to scour the profiles of each individual player. At the risk of pulling an Uncle Dane and dropping a poorly aged quote that everyone frames on the wall, I think TF2 might be in a new paradigm. One where everyone who got turned off by the bot crisis has a shot of coming back. One where the veterans who haven't left get some newfound invigoration. One where you can degen payload games until 4 AM on a diet of nothing but Monster and Chips Ahoy without regretting a thing. Does TF2 still have problems beyond the botting crisis? Yeah. But the biggest issue plaguing the game has finally been alleviated, at least for right now. I like the summer update, I'd give it like a B-, but I'm much more optimistic about our trajectory, and I would hope that I'm not alone in that feeling. Anyways, if you guys want to see more of these complete review videos, let me know. Maybe I'll do them again for future updates. And of course, MVM content will resume. I haven't given it up, there's just obviously been more pressing matters recently. Drop a like or sub if you enjoyed the video, Twitter and Discord are in the description, and that's all I got. See ya.